Hi, today I want to show you how to install oVirt 4.3 from start to the stage that you can install virtual machines and start using it. In order to do that, I'm going to install it on a bare metal. This is a Supermicro X10 motherboard with a single CPU and 32 gigs of RAM. So I downloaded the ISO for the oVirt itself, and you also need oVirt setup tools for operating systems like Windows Server or Windows 10 or Windows 8, and I'll give the links to where to download both of them. Now, at the moment, I'm using this version, 4.3.3.1. The main version of oVirt, it shows the link to download 4.3.3, but if you click it and download it, the ISO, you'll find that it's pointing to version 4.3.2, if I remember exactly. Where is it? I checked it and it's 4.3.2. So I'll ask the team to give a direct link to 4.3.3. Just this version, 4.3.3, and I'll give it a link in this video description. So let's start. I've already mounted the ISO image, booted the machine, and I'll select install. Now I hope that this Java IKVM viewer works well. I really don't like those Java applets. Okay, this is the installation screen. It's just a CentOS 7.6, if I'm not mistaken, that has the oVirt functionality added to it. It's a minimum installation of a CentOS 7.6. Now, before we start the installation, you should have a few things. One, you need to have a DNS server. Whether it's Windows DNS server, bind in Linux, DNS mask, it doesn't matter. As long as you have DNS service that can resolve two internal IPs, you'll need IP and a name for your bare metal machine and for the management. So you'll need two IPs and you'll need the name, and it should be resolved. The etc host trick won't work here. So make sure you have it. Also, make sure you allocated in your NFS server or iSCSI server, for example, FreeNAS, QNAP, Synology, whatever, space for the shared hosting domain, data domain, in order to install the stuff. Basically, oVirt is using the approach of a small NFS, for example, for the management, and then you can create a new point to basically to host all the virtual machines, storage, etc., etc. You can skip it, and right now I'll basically use the same point for the management and guest installation. So let's start. I'll click continue. Daytime, it's just experimental, I don't care so much. I'll click down here. This is the disk. I have only one mechanical hard disk, 4 terabytes. I'll need to configure it to make additional space because it's already been used by oVirt previously. And basically, I'll delete everything. I'll reclaim the space, and it will automatically partition. Now, this is the important part. Here you'll need to create your network interface connections before you start installing oVirt. Once you start installing it, it starts to bind ports and do lots of things, and will create a oVirt MGMT interface, which is an interface for management. And then you'll need to, you can use it for your virtual machines, but the recommendation method is use the management only for management, and then create, using the physical Ethernet connection, bind them or create VLAN, create whatever it needed. So make sure that for to configure this machine and the network correctly before you're starting the oVirt installation itself. So I'll call it OV node 1 IO, and let's configure it. CentOS, click here, general, and automatically connect, or else you'll have few issues. IPv4, let's call it manually. I want to check something. Yeah, okay. My IP for this machine, 24, and my DNS server, and my internal domain. Okay, let's save it. It's connected, 1 gigabit. For this machine, I haven't connected yet the Mellanox cards, so all the installation will be in 1 gigabit, including the network connection to the NFS. Done, and click begin installation. Here you can basically create your user, and after you create while you're creating the user, you can select whatever to assign it as an administrator, which means it will have pseudo privileges, or you can just create root. For this example, I'll just create root with a simple password, and it starts the installation. I'll resume the recording once it's finished. Okay, installation is finished. Rebooting the system. And let's go to virtual storage, and let's plug out. Okay. Hello, Supermicro. Now the system should boot to the CentOS. It's called oVirt node ng. And once it's finished booting, you can click F1 if you want to see the progress. Although in this Java KVM I cannot press F1. Did I say that I really hate this Java KVM? I do. Okay. Let's log in. We should see that the node status is okay. Node CTL, we can use this command to check if everything is really okay. Everything's okay. And as you can see here, this is the URL that we'll need to browse through. So I can log out from here, and let's go. Since I already have this name in the DNS, I'll use it. Login as root, and we'll use the easiest way to install the hosted engine. If you don't know what is the hosted engine is the vCenter in VMware. The hosted engine is the management engine for the entire oVirt. And we're going to use the oVirt hosted engine. I hope I'll create a new video how to create a hyperconverged version. So it will start load the wizard. Make sure that in your system, in the BIOS, the virtualization is enabled, VTD is also enabled, or else it won't let you work. Here, I need to enter the management name that I gave, and I'll use static. This is the IP. The type is signed. This is not my gateway. My DNS is indeed 0.4. In previous version, it guessed the gateway address correctly. Looks like this time it doesn't. So make sure that the gateway address is correct, or else you won't finish this stage. Root password for the management engine, for the machine to basically to use SSH to connect to it. You'll need it. And here, since this machine has only 32 gigs, I'm assigning only 8 gigabytes. On a production machine, I'll surely give 16 gigabytes, but it's not needed. You can click advanced, and if you have a public key to this host, you can put it here, and that's the new bridge that will create by bridging your network internet interfaces to create this bridge. So oVirt management is okay. OVNode, that's the host name of the host itself. Let's click next. Now this is the portal. You should have a different admin password, not the same as the root. So I would suggest to put something else. If you have a mail server and you want to get tons of status messages from oVirt, put your server name, your email, everything here. I'm not going to do this. These are the parameters, and I'm clicking prepare VM. It will update me here what it's doing exactly, and you can log on to the server itself. Let's see. Yeah. Log. Let's see, what's the name? Yeah. oVirt hosted engine setup. And you'll see the log files. Now, it depends on the stage. Right now, see that's the network interface names. You can basically see what's the last files that it touched. It's 404, and the time right now is 404. You can basically just tail it. I don't think this will work. Let's say initial clean. And as you can see, you got all the messages and what's going on. Control C, and it started the bootstrap level. And as you can see, it started doing its stuff. So you can basically follow these log files. Now, if something goes wrong, you might be asked to provide these log files. So they are available at /var/log/oVirt hosted engine setup, and these are the files. Now, all you have to do is just wait. So I'll resume the recording once it's finished. One important thing, one of the stages is install oVirt engine appliance RPM. Depending on your internet connection, it might take a long time because it basically downloads something almost a gigabyte RPM file. So if you see it stuck in here, just wait. Everything's okay. Okay, when it's finished, you'll see this. It's successful. Okay, let's go to the next stage. Now here you select whatever you want. NFS, iSCSI. This is for the hosted engine shared storage that you're required to give it. Fiber channel, Gluster. If you select NFS, while you create it on your FreeNAS, QNAP, whatever, you'll need to create a user named KVM and a group called KVM, and the user ID and the group ID are the same, number 36, or else it won't work. So make sure that you have user ID, group ID, KVM, and the ID number is 36, both for user ID and group ID. So here we'll type the name, and I created this option. Here you can add options. For example, if you're using 10 gigabit or InfiniBand or everything else, you can add your NFS mount options. And in advanced, basically, it creates a disk size of 58 gigabyte. This is important if you create an iSCSI. So it will create an iSCSI LAN in the size of 58 gigabyte. NFS version in NFS it will allocate 58 gigabytes. Of course, you can if you didn't create a specific size, you can use the rest on the same shared storage name. Storage domain name, hosted storage, you can call it whatever you want. And click next and click finish deployment. Now this is important. You should follow this one a bit. Sometimes if you have wrong permissions or anything else, you'll need to basically click back and fix your permissions problems in your NFS server, whatever it is, and click deploy again. I'll resume the recording once it's finished. While it performs this step, I'll give a little background. Basically, in the previous step, it created a virtual machine named hosted engine, and it was running in your bare metal machine. And in this part, when it creates the storage domain, it will basically power off this hosted engine virtual machine, and it will create the storage domain, and then it will move from your local hard disk, the hosted engine virtual machine, to the NFS, because basically it shouldn't be running from a local disk. It should be running from shared storage. So this is the part that it's doing this. It will basically, as I said, create the shared storage, move the hosted engine, modify the hosted engine to work with the storage engine that you selected, NFS, iSCSI, etc. And then it will power it on, and once it's finished, we'll go to the next stage to start using the hosted engine. Okay, it's finished. Complete, close. Are you sure to exit the wizard? Yes. And now if you click the virtualization, you should see health OK, hosted engine. it's running, and since I only have a single host, I cannot do a local maintenance. Fine by me. Now, in order to access the machine, the hosted engine will go manage and add here /oVirt engine. And yes, I don't have security. Now, before you start login, you need to download this CA certificate and install it on your Windows, Linux, Mac, because once you start uploading files, it will check that if you have this CA certificate, or else it won't let you upload any files. Now, if you're in an environment like corporate that you have a central CA certificate, a real one, you can basically modify oVirt to use this CA certificate and not this one that it generated. So I'll open it and I'll install it. Next, finished, successful. Okay, now we'll go to administrator, and here we'll use admin and the password we created. And you should see this dashboard. Now, about events, you can basically ignore them. For example, this one is the power management. We'll need to configure. Basically, it is recommended that when you're adding host, you should configure the power management, which means you'll need to configure also the IPMI or iDRAC or ILO and give it the parameters, because basically it checks the connectivity, that if something happens, it checks if the machine is really stopped or something happened, or just something inside. So it will, for example, reboot in case of emergency. I'm not using it at the moment, so I don't really care. Okay, now we'll need to look at the storage domains. This is where your data is located and hosted. Hosted storage, that's what we created. That's the data master. It's NFS. That's the new version, version 5. And it's active. And as you can see, I have 2.2 terabytes free. So I can just basically store all of my virtual machine here. Or if I want to create a new NFS and add it, I can add it here. Now here, this one, basically it's, I can go click here. It's public images that are not hosted on your infrastructure, but you can download them and use them as a template. For example, if you want to use CentOS 7 atomic host image, for example. So it will download and then you can use it. I think I've created a video. If not, I hope to publish soon how you can use this and create virtual machines from these images and use them. Not at the moment. So we have storage domains. Now, oVirt 4.3 uses only data domains. Previously, there were ISO and export. These are deprecated. So if you want to add ISO images, etc., use it in data. Same when exporting, use the data, not the export. That's the recommendation. Okay, let's cancel. And let's go to compute virtual machines. This is the only single machine that we have at the moment. And that's the hosted engine that we've created. So if we remember, I told you that we need 2 ISO images. These are the images, oVirt ISO, the oVirt tool setup. That this image will need, this ISO image will need to use it, for example, when installing Windows Server 2012, 16, 19. because basically it doesn't recognize the oVirt hard disk format. So you'll need to change the ISO while the machine is running, and take the driver from here and flip back to the Windows ISO and to continue to install. I'll show it in the Windows 10 installation. Now I want to show how to upload. Let's go back to domains, hosted storage. Let's look at the disks, and here we have the upload button, and we can click upload start, and the first thing that we'll do is test connections. As you can see, it failed. It doesn't have the oVirt engine certificate. Why? I don't know. I thought I added it. Just a minute. Let me see. It should be okay now. Let me fix it and I'll resume the recording. Okay, since my Windows machine is pretty messed up, I just switched to Firefox and I'm just using Firefox. So, as I said, I want to upload the ISO that I mentioned to download from oVirt for installing Windows, for example. Click Start, Test Connections, and as you can see, it works. I'll choose a file, I'll go to Download, oVirt ISO, and oVirt Tools Setup. I can give it the descriptions if I want here. Where do I want to install it, to host it? And the host, it doesn't matter really which host, and click OK. Once you've done it, it will lock the ISO and it will start transfer it. As you can see, it transfer, finalizing, and within a few seconds it should be in the OK status. Complete, and it should be OK. Come on. Well, it's okay, which means I can use it right now if I want, for example. But basically, I'll keep it to another video, how to install Windows, if I haven't published already. And you can use this when you're selecting an ISO. For example, if you upload the Windows ISO, you can upload the ISO here to the disks tab here under storage domain, the selected storage that you want, disks, and you can upload it here. Basically, you can see, I don't know, there is a way that you can here, for example, ISO, no, oVirt, for example. Sorry. There's a way to filter it, but I'm not really using it right now. That's it so far. I hope you like this video. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks and good day.